Hey, it's Tim here. In today's video, we're going to cover Tableau Pulse, which was announced at the Tableau conference keynote. Let's get stuck in. So the easiest way for me to explain this feature is to sort of walk through it chronologically, and I'm going to try and edit in footage from the keynote in the order so you can kind of get a sense of how it works. As it is today, if you're using Tableau, in fact, let me hop out of full screen. If we go over to Tableau Cloud, you can see I'm just in a normal dashboard. And if I click on a data point, go up to watch, select metrics, you can see that we get this ability to create a metric on the right hand side. The problem is these have been limited. They've relied on the dashboard to be created. And one of the things you got a sense of at this keynote is that Tableau is, to borrow a word, decoupling so much of its analytical stack. So you can choose which parts of it you want to use and where. Embedding is one capability, but metrics is another. And so what they announced is Tableau Pulse. And if I can sort of try and describe to you what Tableau Pulse is, it's a range of technologies sort of brought together. It's a bit of metrics, a bit of Tableau GPT, which I'll cover in a separate video. And they've given it a landing page. And think of this landing page as a destination for people who typically don't start their analytical work in a data source, or these people might typically go straight to a dashboard. And instead of going to a dashboard, they'll have this ability to go to a landing page, which covers the metrics that they're most interested in. How do you build a metric? Well, there's two ways. There's the most simplest way, which is an author, someone who knows a bit about the data source, can essentially use an interface to describe the metrics they want to build, what kind of context, what kind of time periods. Once they've done that, that metric, or that whatever we're going to call it, let's call it Pulse for now, becomes available in the Tableau Pulse interface. Once there, Tableau GPT technology is able to look at that particular metric and add sort of small flares, additional questions, things it thinks you should know about, and it can augment that initial metric with some more information. That's sort of a rough guide of how I think it works. I have to say I think because fundamentally it's not been released, and what we probably saw was like a conceptual sort of working setup of it. So the really powerful thing here is that the way the interface is set up for users to build these metrics is actually quite accessible, a lot more accessible than something like Tableau Desktop. And they're also quite powerful because the thing that I think absolutely everyone slept on during the keynote was the fact that these metrics can be embedded in a dashboard, in emails, in Slack, and also, of course, on Tableau service. So these are truly portable. And the biggest one is in a dashboard, because when they're in a dashboard, some of the chart design and some of the way those things are set up, it's incredibly hard to get anywhere close to that even neat design. And if they're bringing that interface to an author, then this is going to really incentivize authors to start to use this as a way of building simple metrics that people can follow up on. Now, the other thing is that this technology is sort of infused with something called Tableau GPT. Tableau GPT was also announced at conference. I don't want to dive into that too much here, but nonetheless, Tableau GPT is playing the role of helping people ask smarter questions. It can do that in a couple of ways. The first one is by suggesting questions to you. So you can load up Tableau Pulse and you might see 3 suggestions of things you can ask. The other way you could use this is just through the search function. So in the search function, you could type something in and it might create some sort of a chart and a story, which then might lead you to Tableau Pulse. That's sort of another route. And then the final route is you can almost ask an open-ended question. In the keynote, they showed a demo of someone asking, hey, what else should I know about air fryers? And the great thing about that question is it obviously has context of the data source. It obviously has context of the open-endedness of this question, and it's going away and finding some insight that could be pertinent to that particular thing you've asked, so air fryers in this case, and it then generated a chart. Now, that is a demo. That's sort of its conceptual way of working. But if it actually works like that, that is incredibly powerful, because what you can start to do, I think, in the future is if you're an analyst, if you're an admin, the metadata of what's being asked is now an absolute goldmine, because what people ask sometimes is different to what they tell you they need. And so by seeing the metadata, you can start to build a much richer picture of what data sources you need to go out and work with, what your data engineers need to be prioritizing in terms of work streams and workflows, but also more importantly, are people asking questions about data sources, fields, or assets that you don't yet collect? And therefore you can sort of stand up the associated projects to make sure that data is collected and stored. So all in all, I thought Tableau Pulse was a really interesting feature set. ultimately, I said in my keynote roundup that this was Tableau metrics unleashed, and I stand by that. I think it looks absolutely fantastic. The closest thing I've used to this is something called Alteryx Auto Insights, and Alteryx Auto Insights to me was always the example I would sort of showcase to people when people talked about Ask Data, because the problem with Ask Data in the past has been it's required you to ask questions in a very prescriptive way, and it's kind of coached you. The interface was designed around coaching you to ask the right question, whereas this seems like a truly open way of asking questions. And this is sort of the power of GPT technology, large language models being trained on the way people talk and have conversational discussions around analytics. And now it's available inside of something like Tableau. So I think Tableau Pulse is super exciting. A few key things that I sort of wonder about. All of this AI technology has to run somewhere. The training, the learning, all of that has to run somewhere. And that would typically suggest that this might be a Tableau cloud product. If it's also going to be available on Tableau server, then I think the genuine question that Tableau server admins are going to start asking is, what are the resource implications for me? Because AI model training is not an easy or straightforward thing. And if it's the kind of thing that can run in the background on very small resources or can run in a sort of a quiet time of the day, then fine. But as these features start to roll out, you're going to see computing requirements and minimum requirements start to step up. And it might just be that Tableau Cloud is the only way to keep up with those requirements. So let's wait and see. Anyway, that's it for this video. Hopefully catch the next video where I'll talk about Tableau GPT and what was announced at Keynote. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.